Nice, we are already live, and I see there are already people watching. So everyone that's watching right now, very warm welcome. My name is Menina Chow. I'm part of the SAP community team and your host for today's community call. The topic for today's call is explore the new integration assessment capability within SAP Integration Suite. And with me is Katrin von Asen. She's Chief Product Expert for the Intelligent Enterprise Technology at SAP. And we also have Tushar Pradhan, who is Product Manager for SAP Integration Suite at SAP. Both of them will be joining us also for a Q&A session that's right after the presentation and demo part. So you are really warmly welcome to post your questions in the chat, interact with us in the live chat. And yeah, hope you enjoy this community call. Happy to hand it over to the both of you, Katrin and Tushar.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Menina. And happy to have you here, and greetings from the lab. Today, I would like to introduce you to a new capability of the SAP Integration Suite, which is the new integration assessment capabilities. So here, let's start actually with the flow of the presentation. So first, I will start with the presentation and run through a couple. I hear an echo.
I don't, but maybe if you want to close or mute YouTube, that might be helpful. Mm-hmm. Is it still there?
Yes. Oh. I hear what I've said before. You not?
Mm-mm.
You need to mute your YouTube.
Okay.
Now, oh, yeah, YouTube.
Okay, so let's start with the presentation. Let's start with the presentation. So I will be starting with the presentation and a couple of slides introducing you into the integration strategy in the context of the intelligent enterprise. And then we will continue with the SAP Integration Solution Advisory methodology. And then we will deeply dive into the integration assessment capability within SAP Integration Suite. Once I am done with the slides, I will hand it over to Tushar. Sorry.
Do you still hear the echo? Might
Yes.
be probably distracting. If you want to close YouTube, that might be helpful. Yeah, it's hard to concentrate if you speak and you hear yourself, right? So it seems like Katrin is dialing back in a moment. But for everyone else that is watching currently, yeah, what have you been expecting of this call? Do you have already some topics that you would like the two experts to address? Let us know in the chat. Tushar, what's actually your background? Is it?
My background is mainly technical. So I've been with SAP for almost 19 years now, and into all facets of ERP implementation. So right from started my SAP career with Core ABAP, but over a period of years into different areas within SAP, EDI, ALE, XI when it was launched, process integration, process orchestration, user experience, design thinking, user experience architect, and now with product management, as well as TOGAF and enterprise architecture. So it's a multifaceted.
And many years of experience, I guess.
With SAP. So yes, I'm looking forward to this
cool.
great tool as well, which is good segue into ISAM and how customers can start using it to their advantage.
Yeah, really nice. And oh, I see there are also people joining us in the live chat. So hello back to you guys. Oh, I see dialing in from Brazil. That's also very exciting, of course, with YouTube, with the live stream, with us being here online. dialing in from all over the world. I'm dialing in from Heidelberg. My virtual background, maybe some of you know it, is the Schulungszentrum in Waldorf. Yeah. And of course, apologies that we have some technical issues here. Katrin is trying to dial back in. Oh, there she is. And we're back in a moment. Hey, Katrin, you're back.
Hi.
Cool.
Again, I'm extremely sorry. So let's start again with the beginning. Now it's much better. Okay. So I apologize and let's get started. So today I have the pleasure to introduce you to the integration assessment capability within SAP Integration Integration Suite. And I will start actually with an introduction in the SAP integration strategy. And we will look at the concepts at the SAP integration solution advisory methodology before diving into the details of the integration assessment capability. Then I will hand it over to my colleague Tushar, who will walk you through a deep dive demo into the tooling and the capabilities of integration assessment. And then I will actually share with you some further details about how to get started with applying ISAM and the integration assessment capability. And finally, we will open up for question and answers. Okay, let's start with a brief look at the integration topic as such, right? So it's often said that integration is actually quite cumbersome to implement and costs a lot of time and resources. However, integration brings also a high business value with it. So according to a study by Oxford Economics, there is actually a significant positive business impact on integration. So here, according to the results of this study, there is the outcome that 94% of the integration leaders were able to improve their profit margins, and also a large number of enterprises were able to increase transparency into their operations. So there's really a business potential related to proper enterprise integration. However, the other side of the house is that 1/4 of the surveyed enterprises outlined that they would not describe themselves as completely integrated. But what's the reason for that? So let's take a look at the big picture. What we see today is that the application landscapes and technology landscapes are fast evolving, right? So it's really a hybrid mix of various technologies and applications from different vendors along mergers and acquisitions by adopting new technologies like the Internet of Things, big data, and so on. These come all along with their own integration requirements and needs. So therefore, it's really a big integration challenge for today's enterprise architects to deal with these rising scope and complexity on integration. So how to define a future integration architecture, right, which is able to cope with these new requirements? How to introduce a hybrid integration platform which can cope with both, with existing requirements and the new requirements, integration requirements and standards coming up. A big challenge is not only the technical game of the house, it's also the organizational dimension on integration. For instance, how to introduce integration governance across an organization, and also to enable an agile practice and enable your integration developers according to the rising scope of integration skills. And all this has to be set into the customer context. There is actually not a one-fits-all size approach, because every customer has got a different background. For instance, the enterprise architecture strategy, the future application landscape might have an impact on the integration strategy. Furthermore, existing skill sets and commercial aspects might also have an impact on the selection of the integration technology, just as an example. So how to deal with this integration complexity? To ease actually here the pain on integration, SAP introduced the SAP Integration Strategy in the context of the intelligent enterprise. And here we are aiming at delivering end-to-end integrated business processes, which may span across SAP, but also across non-SAP applications from partners or third-party providers. This is done along with the help of suite qualities, so technical concepts, and we are consistently applying with the help of technologies of the business technology platform to deliver really a new suite experience across these end-to-end business processes. So the backbone here, as already said, is the business technology platform from SAP with the core enterprise integration platform as a service offering, which is SAP Integration Suite. The SAP Integration Solution Advisory methodology is also part of this strategy, and this helps enterprise architects to define and execute an enterprise integration strategy. So now let's look at the methodology as such. The methodology is actually the foundation also of the integration assessment capability within SAP Integration Suite. Therefore, it's worth to spend a couple of minutes on the methodology as such. So with the Integration Solution Advisory methodology, or in short, simply ISAM, we are delivering a framework for defining and executing an enterprise integration strategy. This is a technology and vendor agnostic framework. So this means you can take and also apply the concepts in hybrid environments where you have a mix of SAP and non-SAP integration technologies. The framework comes with accelerators like adaptable integration use case patterns, architecture blueprints, best practices, and more. The good thing is of the methodology that it really covers truly the integration dimensions in today's hybrid and diverse environments. For instance, the process and the data integration side, also user-centric integration scenarios, Internet of Things scenarios, and more, covering cloud-only deployment and also hybrid deployments where you have a mix of on-premise applications and integration technologies along your journey towards the cloud. So let's take a quick look at the scope of the methodology and how you can adopt it. So the good thing is that the methodology is clearly structured along 4 use cases. This allows you to change from a non-systematic integration approach towards a systematic approach along 4 stages. It starts with the assessment of your integration strategy, where you perform a guided scoping of your integration requirements. The second use case is to design a hybrid integration platform. So depending on the needs and the different integration scenarios, for instance, from the process or from the data integration domain, you can shape actually a hybrid integration platform, for instance, out of existing integration technologies and complementing ones to cover new integration requirements. The third use case is to define integration best practices. So here we are delivering, for instance, architecture blueprints for integration use cases, which you can also adapt according to your needs. The last but not least use case of ISAM is the enablement of a practice of empowerment. So this is really looking at the organizational dimension on integration. For instance, how to introduce an integration practice at an enterprise. What kind of roles do you need? How to introduce integration governance and more. And with this stepwise approach, you can really truly increase the integration maturity level within your organization. Let's quickly walk through the single use cases one by one, starting with the first one with the assessment of the integration strategy. My colleague Pradhan Tushar Pradhan will later show you in the demo how to find the concepts and apply them as part of integration assessment. First, you start with integration domains, which are actually the common integration archetypes in today's hybrid environments, where you're integrating, for instance, on-premise to on-premise applications, cloud to on-premise applications, so-called hybrid integration scenarios. And depending on your business requirements, you might also need to look at integrating, for instance, with real-world objects, for instance, think to cloud integration scenarios or on-premise integration scenarios, or also user-centric applications. The next level of detailing is to look at the different integration styles and use case patterns. So here, as of today, we have actually 5 integration styles defined with defined decision criteria and selection criteria, like the process, the data, analytics, user, and thing integration style. Each style is subdivided into use cases, for instance, application to application integration, business to business integration for the process integration style. These are complemented by cross use cases, which you can see in the at the bottom, which can be used along more than one integration style, for instance, API managed integration. Walking on to the second use case of ISAM, to design a hybrid integration platform. Now you perform actually an integration technology mapping with the scoping, which you have done before on the level of integration styles and use case patterns. These can now be mapped to the respective integration technologies. For instance, towards an integration platform as a service solution, a data management solution, IoT platform, and more. Typically, one integration use case requires often more than one integration technology, and in turn, lots of integration technology like SAP Integration Suite can cover several integration use cases in one go. The next level is then to specify integration policies for the respective integration technologies, and also to provide decision tables, criteria for which helps your integration developers to identify the integration technology with the best fit to your needs. Third, we are looking at defining integration best practices. So here we have plenty of them. So I depicted just one example where we specify actually key characteristics for integration technologies. Here is an example depicted for the API management layer and the integration layer. So from the SAP portfolio, we are referring here to the API management capability and the cloud integration capability of Integration Suite. But again, it's an open framework. You may also adapt it to third-party integration technologies. So this kind of best practices gives you and integration developers guidance regarding which integration technology to choose for specific requirements. As we can see that here in some areas, there is actually a favor of using, for instance, an integration technology for specific needs, like to split messages, to aggregate messages, and so on. However, you see in the middle, there are actually some options to choose one or the other. So for instance, to perform some mappings and so on. And here actually we are offering with the methodology some guardrails to help you to identify the right integration approach. So further integration best practices include architecture blueprints, integration do's and don'ts, and also product-specific accelerators. The fourth use case is the organizational aspect, and here I depicted as an example the integration governance process, which outlines actually how you can introduce integration governance at your organization across various personas, like a business domain expert, integration architect, and integration developers leveraging the various assets of the ISAM framework. So here, starting with the definition of the requirements from a business perspective, handing it over to an integration developer who determines the integration technology with the help of ISAM, with the integration styles and scoping approach and the use case patterns. And then depending on the decision, the integration scenarios being implemented, where we also offer best practices like the architecture blueprints and also product-specific integration best practices like the enterprise integration patterns of cloud integration, which you can find, for instance, at the SAP API Business Hub. Further accelerators include here, for instance, guidance regarding how to set up an integration center of excellence, how to introduce integration governance from an organizational structure point of view, and also how to accommodate integration quality assurance. Yeah, moving on now to the integration assessment capability within SAP Integration Suite. So regarding the integration solution advisory methodology, we got great feedback that we have really defined a very good and powerful concept and methodology for a domain of integration. However, it's for lots of customers and partners sometimes challenging to turn it into the action and to really introduce it into the daily development activities within their organization. Therefore, we decided to look for a tool-based approach, which would automate key parts of the integration solution advisory methodology. And this has been recently released with the integration assessment capability within SAP Integration Suite. So with this, we are offering now, in addition to our PowerPoint-based framework of ISAM, a tool-based approach, which is part of SAP Integration Suite. The main objective is here to help customers and partners to introduce integration governance at their organization by defining, executing, and documenting an enterprise integration strategy within and across their organization. And this is actually now a new part capability of SAP Integration Suite. As you see it here on the slide, the various capabilities, which you might already know, like the cloud integration and API management capability. There's now also in the center of Integration Suite, integration assessment available for shaping and governing an integration technology strategy. And this nicely rounds off the scope of SAP Integration Suite. It's worth to mention that this capability is not limited to the scope of SAP Integration Suite. With the first release version, we provide already the guiding content, for instance, for the process integration style and also of the data integration style, which covers, for instance, SAP Data Intelligence, SAP Data Services, SAP HANA Smart Data Integration, and many more. Let's take a look at the use cases and benefits of integration assessments. So here we have now the tool-based approach with a pre-delivered guiding content from SAP, which is currently focusing on the process and data integration style and may grow over time to cover the other areas of the ISAM methodology. It's an open approach and also tooling which allows you to customize the content according to your needs and also to define your own guiding content and recommendations, for instance, to cover third-party applications and technologies. Another aspect is that it offers guardrails, integration guardrails within your organizations and can significantly improve the collaboration between various personas. For instance, the business domain expert, the integration architects, and also the integration developers. Furthermore, you can also gain insights in your integration landscape. So over time, you build up an inventory of integration scenarios, so a kind of Google Maps about your current integration landscapes, which is a very valuable overview because it goes and spans across your various integration technologies from which you might are using within your organization. Yeah, so what's the value of this integration assessment tooling? So there was recently a survey performed by ASAC and SAP, the integration trends among SAP customers. And there was a question about how to reduce actually the integration implementation timelines. And there the number one feedback was to educate IT staff about integration solution. And the second one was to standardize and also to pre-configure solutions and APIs. And integration assessment addresses the two areas to help your integration developers to identify the right integration technologies for an integration scenario. Yeah, and having said that, I would like also here outline quickly the scope of the tooling. We deliver here with integration assessment the master data of ISAM, which you might already know from the framework, which is now also available as part of the tooling and can be adjusted according to your needs. The new thing is that you can also maintain landscape information, the tooling like applications and your integration technologies, including deployed instances. And the new value add is here that we also offer questionnaires with the tooling, which helps you, your business users to specify the integration requirements from a business perspective and to process the integration requests by integration developers in a standardized fashion. And this is actually now an overview of how to work with the tool and the different across the different personas, starting with the integration architect to manage the ISAM master data in the ISAM settings section and to maintain the landscape data. We have the business domain expert to specify the integration requirements, leveraging a so-called business solution request. And finally, the integration developer processing these kind of interface requests and as being walked through a questionnaire, and based out of the answers and selection options the person selected, he or she will get an integration technology with the best fit to the specified requirements. Yeah, but having said that, I would like now to hand it over to Shar, who will walk you through the demo.
Hi, everyone, and let me share my screen. Thank you, Catherine. I hope everyone can see my screen. So yeah, thank you, Catherine, for a great introduction to ISAM and our tool. And let me just jump into the tool right away and how it looks. So this is the integration assessment tool that we have. And as you can see, it has 4 key components. Request is where a business expert is going to request for an interface, and interface request is where an integration developer is going to analyze and provide the input. Analyze is mainly from an executive perspective, where you would be able to see and analyze from an organizational perspective how integration is being used in your organization. Configure is a place where you have your own environment specific to your organization with respect to different vendors and different instances that you would have. And settings is your master data for ISAM. So let's go bottom up and see where we stand. So if you drill down into settings, it's mainly divided into different key components of ISAM, which Catherine just covered. So things like integration domains, integration styles, integration use case patterns, and so on and so forth, right? So if I specifically look into, say, integration domains, then the different integration domains that are by default provided with ISAM, cloud to on-prem, thing to cloud, user to cloud, and things like that is already provided to you as a part of the tool out of the box. You can, of course, deep dive into the details of this as well. I really need to understand on which style this particular domain is used. Data integration, for example, with how to synchronize data between business applications, process integration of how to chaining business processes across applications. But that is not what the beauty of the tool is. It also provides an ability to add more integration domains. For example, today there is a need or a talk about maybe a cloud to meta or cloud to social domain. And in that case, you can easily create, if your organization is having more capabilities for these new domains, then those can be created as well. And then you can go and work towards that domain. Getting into one level deeper with respect to ISAM, from domain level, you go to the styles, and then you have the styles provided over here, like data integration, process integration, thing integration, user integration. Um, and if I say go deeper into process integration, then it's going to tell me the different use case patterns where it is used: B to G, A to A, master data, B2B, for example. And again, as with the pre-integration domain, if there is a new integration style that is being used in your organization, you can of course create that as well, and then details can be added onto that. You go one level deeper, your integration use case patterns, your A2A integration, API managed B2B. And again, if I go into deeper into this one, then it's going to tell me the key, details about it, that this examples, what it can be used, and what integration style is being used for that one. So as you can see, the settings is mainly your master data, which is with respect to what the ISAM technology is. And then you get into your integration areas. Your key characteristics are maintained over here. And again, as with every feature that is there, you can keep on adding more and more features to your tool to really make it a complete tool specific to your organization that you would be using, above and beyond what SAP has provided out of the box. The different deployment models are over here. And then right now, out of the box, we are providing on-prem, private cloud, and public cloud. And then the question is, that Catherine was mentioning, is provided here as well. Now remember, this is our first version of the tool, and in the upcoming versions, more and more questionnaires out of the box will be released by SAP. Okay, if you need to have a new questionnaire specific, you can add that as well over here, and then use that in your subsequent integration analysis. Going one level up, now that you have set up and gone through all the integration settings as per your ISAM model, now it's time to configure it specific to your organization. And this is where the configuration part comes into picture. So here by default, if I go bottom up, then the vendor provided is SAP, and then there's another non-SAP vendor as well. But if your organization is working with many other vendors, then you can add those vendors as well. And what is the beauty of adding those vendors is that when you go to start creating your own applications, so for example, right now in this particular tenant of the tool, I have different applications like Ariba, ERP, Fieldglass, HANA Cloud, Marketing Cloud, and so on and so forth, all by SAP vendor. But if there is any other application which is a non-SAP vendor as well, then after creating the vendor, you would be able to add that as well over here. And that is the beauty of this tool, that it is vendor agnostic and it is not specifically tied to SAP as a vendor, but it really wants customers to take advantage of this tool holistically from an end-to-end integration assessment perspective. So now once you have defined your applications, you get to the next level, which is your integration technologies. And this is where you would be really defining your instances for your organization. So for example, I might have a cloud instance of S4HANA on a dev, QA, and prod instance, and that's where you would be adding more instances over here. So if you understand how you configure it, you have different vendors. For those vendors, you have different applications. For those applications, you have different integration technologies and different instances that you would be able to create. And again, you would start creating them using this plus button, and then your vendors, whatever you have defined, are over here by default, and then your domains on which you want to have that particular integration technology is provided. And again, this is all driven from the configuration that you have set up as an integration architect, and then the different styles that are over here as well. Now let's go ahead and start creating a request, and then let's run through the whole process. So now I'm putting a hat of a business user who is in the need of creating an interface request. So I go into a business solution request, and let me go ahead and start creating a request for that matter. I want to create, say, a quotation order over here. So let's do And then by default, so which master data or transaction will be exchanged? This is a quotation order. To which business process does it belong to? I will say it's a lead to cash, for example. What is the planned business go live date? Now I'm working with cloud solutions and smart technologies, so I'm expecting this to be go live by within 3 months with a medium priority. If there are any attachments which are already available as a part of the business request, those can be added over here as well. The more information you add over here, it's going to help the integration developer to take it further over here. So this button is going to give me an ability to add an attachment as a URL and then go further. Then the interface request details, I want to add more about it. Then my name is going to be quotation order process. And my source application is going to be, say, I want to have it as a marketing cloud. And my target instance is going to be, say, my HANA on-prem. So it's a cloud to on-prem scenario that I have over here. And what style is it going to be? It's a process integration style. So as a business user, after providing all the attachments and the information, this is all I need to really submit my request. And now I'm going to submit this request. At this point, I can directly get into the requirement analysis, which is more from a technical perspective. But now I'm going to change my hat as an integration architect. And I come over here into interface request, and I see that is there any new requirement analysis which is coming up from business. And I see over here that there is a quotation order request from cloud to on-prem process integration. It's in the requirement analysis phase. So as an integration architect, integration developer, I'm going to go over here and try to see more details about it. So I know that it is reading the requirements. It is an A to A based integration as a step 2. Do you want to apply predefined integration delivered by SAP or SAP partner? So yes, I would really want to take advantage of that because this is going to point me back to our API Business Hub. And this is where the standard content will come from. Am I expecting what level of transformation for your integration scenario? Does it have advanced, no transformation, or simple? Knowing what I know about this, I'm going to say it's a simple transformation. And do you want to really take advantage of accelerated interface and mapping development? So B2B, this is not an EDI or a B2 based scenario. So I'm just going to say no and go to step 3. And now integration content, let me just see what I get from our API Business Hub. I go over here and I say sales, because that's what I'm searching for, and get to the target application, because this is where my data would be going into. And I search for it and see I get a quotation orders return replication, which is data coming from my API Business Hub. I can have all the data over here, or I can specifically have it associated with scenario, iFlow, value mapping, so on and so forth. And I import this over here. And with this imported over here, I go into the step 4. Do I need to convert the protocol of source system to different protocol? So I would say yes, I would need to do that over here. Am I going to manage my integration with multiple trading partners? No, this is not a TPM scenario, so it's just going to be no. What type of connectors does my integration scenario require? Am I using business application connector or data sources or technology connectors? At this instance, I'm just going to select both of them and then go to the next step. Do I want business users monitoring my integration scenario at runtime? I think that will be a good idea. So I'm going to select yes. Let the business users monitor the business content of it. And in case of any technical errors, do I need to forward the messages back to the receiver? I think that's a good idea as well. And I'm going to complete this and do a review of my requirement analysis. I have an ability to actually review it one more time. And if any changes need to be made, I can make that. With that, I'm going to go into the technology selection aspect of it. And over here, I'm going to go ahead and select, and I see that with this what information, I have 100% fit with application interface framework and a cloud integration suite as being the two solutions which are being used for my particular request. At this point, I'm going to select technology, which is really going to tell me which instance. And remember, this is what we have configured in our configure section. So I'm going to have for the integration suite, my CI instance, which is cloud integration. For application interface framework, I'm going to have my AIF instance. Again, as an integration architect, you have an ability at this point to say, maybe I want to use a different solution as well. Maybe I want to use Integration Advisor, or maybe I want to use Intelligence Cloud. You can add that as well over here, something which is possible, but out of what has been provided by as an input and the request, these two solutions would give me 100% coverage, and that gives me an okay on this one. And I'm going to submit this back. And I can do an overview as well as key characteristics over here, which will tell me that from a transformation perspective, my cloud integration suite is meeting all the requirements which are fully covered. My AIF is used not from a transformation, and that's why it is partially covered, and so on and so forth. So the connectivity and the color coding is going to really guide you to what would really help to really understand the key characteristics of this particular requirement. So for example, monitoring and operations, AIF would be the right approach, and that's why it's all green. You can still do it using cloud integration, but that's why it is in orange. And with that, I'm going to just submit this, and it's going to complete my questionnaire. Now, I'm going to change my hat again as more of an management manager, executive level, and go into the analyze section. I really want to see how integration is used in my organization, and if everyone is taking advantage of the tool, and so on and so forth. So there are different areas over here. So I can see that from a cloud to cloud perspective, process integration is being used. Cloud to on-premise, it is being used. For other scenarios where this particular technologies exist, at least my organization is not using this right now, then I can get into the integration policies over here and get into the details with respect to the use cases. The application overview is really going to provide me details in a graphical way, which will tell me, for example, there is an interface which is having a connection from S/4HANA to my supplier. There's an interface already existing in an organization from S/4HANA to Marketing Cloud, and so on and so forth. So as a manager, I can really have a bird's eye view of how integration is being used within the organization. And last but not the least, if I get into the integration technology overview, so you really gives you an ability to slice and dice your data of how and where your integration technologies are being used, and for what patterns, cloud to on-prem, what domains. You can get into different styles it is being used for. You can get into different key characteristics within the organization at a metadata management level, at a connectivity level, at a transformation level, at a monitoring and operations level. So, it really gives you a very good idea from a bird's eye view, from a manager perspective or executive perspective, of how it is being used. So this is what the integration assessment tool is, starting from settings, which is again your core ISAM data, ability to add and configure specific to your organization, configure your organizational landscape, request, ability to create your request from a business user perspective, and then ability to work on that as an integration architect, and then analyze more from a management perspective. And again, the questionnaire presented over here was the questionnaire which was part of what was provided out of box by SAP. If you create your own questionnaire specific to your own requirements, you would be able to use that over here as well. So that is what we really wanted to cover from an integration assessment tool perspective. With that, we can open up for any Q&A. And I can stop sharing. I think, Catherine, I'll hand it over to you for the closing before we hand it over for Q&A.
So Some final words on integration assessment. So how to get started? So here, if you would like to get started with integration assessment, we have actually delivered an open SAP course last year about ISAM. So that's a very good learning to get to know the concepts of ISAM in more detail. And then you can request access to the ISAM framework, this PowerPoint-based version, by sending an email at isam@sap.com, or you simply start using the integration assessment capability within SAP Integration Suite, which is general available now. There are also some service offerings available, for instance, by an integration planning service, which also may include ISAM and the use of integration assessment, and also an architecture planning service by SAP Max Attention, covering the integration assessment and integration strategy definition along primarily the transformation towards SAP S/4HANA. Yeah, with that, I would like now to open up for question and answers. Menina, so we can start the Q&A.
Yes, that sounds good. Thank you for your time. And also I shared some of the links that you shared in the chat, especially your blog post, because you kind of also phrased it out in detail and also linked to the Open SAP course as well as other relevant links. Q&A, yes, that's your time, everyone that's watching. We also had an active live chat here, so thanks for all participants so far. We'll definitely dive into the comments that you made and suggestions that you needed in a moment, but real quick reminder for everyone else, let's use the time, post your questions if you have any. Meanwhile, let's start with those that have already been submitted. There's actually a use case by a member that has posted some comments here. I might read them out loud for you and everyone that's watching and not probably able to see the live chat. So there was a requirement to extract some static data out of SAP for a third-party system. There were two options to extract the data from, BW or ECC. Both were possible, but they tried to apply ISAM to identify which style it belongs to, but couldn't find any guidelines. So how do they apply the style and pattern here? And do they need more blueprints, for example, in each style, as the template provides only one example for each style? And you also mentioned, I think, more architecture blueprints are on the product roadmap, but maybe you can expand a little bit on this question.
Yeah, so regarding the use case, it appears that you need to take a closer look at the details of that. It appears to me that one option would go with the data integration style if you're just simply extracting data out of an ECC system. If you're looking at this business warehouse integration use case, then it's more with the analytics integration style. And here we have for data integration some use case patterns defined and also some technology recommendations given. So here I might also like to refer you to a complementing guide where you can find also guiding information, which is the Integration Architecture Guide for Cloud and Hybrid Landscapes. So this has been recently updated, and it includes also a section about analytics integration and data integration. So here outlining the recommended SAP technologies, and that would be a good starting point to get some guidance on this topic then.
Yes, that's perfect. I'll also attach the presentation as a link to the description of this blog, of this YouTube call, so you can see it, so you can refer back to it again. Okay. Are there any limits in free versus productive version? I think this was partially already addressed. Or is there anything else you want to?
It's a commercial question, I think. Tushar, would you like to comment on that, on the commercial terms for using integration assessment?
I mean, all the innovation that we do now is going to be, again, coming more into, we'll have it also on free version. The key difference is that, we really want to limit with respect to going live with free version, right? And free version will you cannot open any incidents against that, or you will not have any SLA, as well as any the it might still be in a beta version on a free version as against a productive version. So that's the key difference that you would really be having with respect to free version versus productive.
Thank you. And I see also a very appreciating comment in the chat. Thank you. So great presentation. I am happy to pass it along. Great presentation and demo. Thanks, Katrin and Tushar, for sharing all these details about the integration assessment capability of SAP Integration Suite. So thank you, everyone. And if there are any further questions, then please let us know, or go to community.sap.com/topics/integration strategy, where you can follow up on recent community calls that we had, on more details, more topics, more learning material, and of course the chance for you to interact with the experts, with you all, with the community, and to be able to get help if you need any further help from the community. Yeah, with that, yeah, I see more chat comments. So thanks for your time, Katrin and Tushar. Integration assessment is a very interesting and potential tool to be used on our customers. So that's great feedback. Thank you, Bruno. And yeah, I think any last words from the both of you, Katrin, Tushar? I think you really did a great job presenting.
Yeah. So it would be
sharing.
great if you would continue to engage with us as outlined at SAP Community. So we have the topic pages there live and providing content like blog posts. So on integration assessment, so more, there's already one out and more is to follow. And we're happy to answer any questions on this topic. So feel free to make use of the ask a question option too. So we are also happy to follow up on this after the call.
Absolutely. And from my end, use the tool, take advantage of the new innovative tool provided by SAP. This is just the first version. The newer versions will be coming with more and more capabilities. So, take advantage of the ISM tool and methodology.
Awesome. Those are great ending words. And with that, we're happy to see you soon in one of the upcoming community calls and in the community as well. Stay tuned and yeah, have a great day, everyone. Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.